Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Jessica Crejo with the Iowa Coalition for Integration and Employment and your Employment First team. Thanks for joining us today. We're really excited to have Ashlea back to talk about discovery, task-based activities, and vocational themes. Before we get started, though, we'll do a couple of housekeeping things. We will record today's session, and I'll be sure to send that out, as well as post it to the YouTube archive. You can receive a certificate of attendance for today. Be happy to provide that. Please just let me know either in the question or chat pod there along the right-hand side of your screen if you would like one, or you can email me directly. As it goes for the archives, just want to touch on this again. If you guys utilize the archives for your training or ongoing education requirements, that's really great, and we encourage you to do so. But I'm not able to keep up with those requests or essentially verify that staff attended. So I'm asking agencies to kind of track that within, but I'm happy to share a template of a certificate with you and let you know how I do that if you would like to track that for your teams internally. And then last but certainly not least, there'll be a very short survey that launches right after the end of the webinar. Just 2 questions, both yes and no. I appreciate it if you give me feedback on that. And then Ashlea is going to also ask you for some feedback as we move through here. And at the end, things you've learned, your takeaways and stuff. So we'd really appreciate if you'd also share that in the comments or in the chat. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our very own and very favorite subject matter expert, Ashlea Lantz.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks, Jess, and good afternoon and happy Tuesday to my friends and colleagues. I hope you're all doing well. I know I am very excited about the potential of 70-degree weather tomorrow, as I imagine all of us are. So, warm thoughts on this spring Tuesday. We are going to dive into the fantastic topics of discovery activities and vocational themes today. And I want to just briefly cover the Voc Rehab updated discovery documents. I am quite excited about them. I think there are some exciting changes in here as we've been working with our new, or well, I guess we're kind of knee deep now, but with our project sites for our Employment First grant this year in Cedar Rapids and Des Moines. We've been spending a lot of time on the new discovery forms, and I think you'll find them easy to use. So this is page 1 of the discovery form, or forms for discovery services as they're now titled. The top part, the discovery plan, which is facilitated by the VR counselor. And again, it doesn't have to be face-to-face. I'm finding that a lot of counselors are still having that face-to-face meeting as an introduction to services and to discovery for the individual, the family. They meet the CRP at that point in time. So that first part is really intended to be completed by the counselor. Who's attending that initial meeting, what's their title and their role, and their contact information. So easy enough. The next step to immediately follow, and at that meeting, maybe you can even set the date, is for the home visit. So visiting somebody at their home. We've talked a lot about home visits, this year, last year. And so, really spending some time getting to know someone in their home where they are most comfortable. Yes, there is always the exception to the rule, right, where someone may prefer to have the meeting in a different place, but it's always where the individual and the family chooses that, where they're in power as opposed to our place of power being in our office. So same thing there, who's attending, who are they, and their contact information. And then the big piece to really pay attention to here is it says summary of home visit and the neighborhood. So at this point, you're really looking at describing what I would say brain dumping all of the information that you learned at the home visit. And I anticipate that this is going to be 3 to 4 paragraphs. It's a fillable document, so you're going to basically extend the page onto this, describing what you've learned in the home visit. Again, paying specific attention to the evidence, right? If you state somebody likes something, what's the evidence behind that? And so the exciting piece is counselors are also receiving training on the same document, and we'll be looking for those things as well. So after you've completed visiting someone at their home, then you want to move to interviewing others. So at the home visit, before you leave, you always ask, who else can we talk to that knows you really, really well? And then sometimes our conversations in the home visits will also allude to people that we maybe need more information from, or they talk about that person, and we want to interview and follow up with some of those folks. So again, that just gives us a bigger picture of who this person is. So for example, you ask me, hey, Ashley, tell me a little bit about yourself. I only tell you so much information because in our society, we're not encouraged to talk about ourselves, right? And that's kind of awkward. However, you talk to my husband, my sister, my mom, some people I've worked with, and you get a much bigger picture of who I am, right? So it's really important that we're spending some time identifying at least 1 to 3 folks that you can follow up with and just have a conversation, not a standardized list of questions, but just a conversation to get a bigger picture of who this person is. And then same expectations, you're gonna brain dump your conversation into that summary of findings. And that is, again, probably gonna be another page that you're jotting all of that information down. And then comes my favorite part. So you're taking the information from the home visit and interviewing others, and you're looking for what's consistent, what kind of patterns am I seeing? And then we start brainstorming around discovery activities. And so again, this is still coordinated by the provider. However, we really want to encourage that you're reaching out to the VR counselor throughout this process. In our project, we've been emailing the counselor the information to date, right? So here's what we found out in the home visit and interviewing others, and here are some ideas that we're thinking about with discovery activities. So it pulls in the counselor to say, here's what we learned so far, and what ideas do you also have around a good fit for a discovery activity? Because when we're brainstorming as a team, more minds are always better than one. So I really, really encourage you to increase that communication with the counselor. It doesn't have to be formalized through a phone call, a phone call. It can just be a team email, right? And you could also include the job seekers team so that you're brainstorming around what those discovery activities will look like. And we will get into discovery activities here shortly, but at least you want to have 2. And so they need to be active, they need to be robust, the job seeker needs to be doing something. And an informational interview can work. However, an informational interview can usually be a step to a discovery activity or the opportunity to get to that discovery activity. So again, we'll get there in a few minutes. And then also looking at, is benefits planning needed? If so, making that referral. And then you get to the discovery team meeting dialogue. And that form also has had some changes to it, where it in the past used to say like list types of jobs. That piece is pulled out because that immediately gets us to start thinking about particular businesses. And we might not be there yet, because with discovery, the nice thing about the variety of the menu of services is that you might need to request an authorization for informational interviews, or you might request an authorization for a job shadow. You might need an additional authorization for discovery to keep digging and completing some more discovery activities, or you might go straight to job development. But it really should look different for every job candidate that you're working with through discovery. And then, use this, the information that you gain from the discovery activities is really going to fill in what are the needs and conditions, the supports, their skills and contributions. That's all going to kind of come together in that discovery team meeting dialogue. And then the last piece, the positive personal profile. That form doesn't change, but that's where you're going to collect a lot of the information from. And really be descriptive, right, as far as our discovery activities. And then some of that information is going to be dropped over from your home visit and interviewing others, right? So some of that might seem a little repetitive, but that positive personal profile really brings it all together. So those are the updated changes to the VR form, and that can be found in the updated 2018 provider manual online. All right, so Any questions about that form, or if Leanne Russo is on, anything that I forgot to add to that form? Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. All right, so discovery activities. They should be active, robust, and skill-based. So people should be doing things. So we're going to talk about, how do you begin? So where do we even start when it comes to discovery activities? And then how do we plan for them? So what do we do, and what do we do, right? So a lot of times that I think where we stumble is, what activities do I do with this person? And then making sure that really ties back to the information that we've learned about who this person is through the home visit and interviewing others, and also paying attention to their neighborhood as well. So you want to make sure you include that. And then when do we need to complete more than 2 discovery activities? Because you only have, your authorization is 12 hours, which isn't a lot to work with. So you've got to be pretty efficient as far as how you're using those hours. And we can talk a little bit about that. And then how do you share and report the information that you've learned through the discovery activities? And then we're going to take that information and see how it gets us to identifying vocational themes. So I think there are 3 big questions when it comes to discovery activities. So if you've identified an activity and you say, okay, I'm working with Joe, I think we should go do this. I want you to ask yourself, does it tie back to what you learned in the home visit and interviewing others? So if I'm reading that discovery form, can I identify, oh, they went to connect with a woodworker and completed a woodworking project, because I see that in the home visit he has collected, in shop class in high school, he built 4 or 5 different projects. He continues to tinker around in the garage with his grandpa, who's a woodworker. This is something he connects with, right? So I can tie it back to what I've learned. And then, is it predetermined? When I say predetermined, what I mean is this already something that your organization has set up that everybody goes through, right? So if we look at oftentimes the educational system and the EBCE program, so which are fantastic, but oftentimes there are a set number of businesses that schools, in the summertime have connected with and they partner with. And then the student, you would say, here are the 12 businesses we work with, which one might be a good fit for you? I would say that's predetermined, right? Because you've got to line up and you choose what's available. In a discovery activity, you start with the person first, and then you go seek out those opportunities or those discovery activities. So it's going to look very different for each person that you're working with. And then same thing, if you have work opportunities within your organization that are in-house, I would say that is also predetermined. Third, is it active? So this is the piece where, is the job seeker getting their hands dirty? Are they part of the process? Are they going on a walk? Is not necessarily an activity, a discovery activity, unless they're walking to the neighbors because they go and they tinker around in the garage with their neighbor every Saturday, and then tinkering around in the garage is the discovery activity, if that makes sense. Walking around a mall to see which store somebody likes is not a discovery activity. You might learn more information about them, but at that point I would say that's really an extension of the home visit as opposed to a discovery activity. So does it tie back to what you've learned about the individual in the home visit and interviewing others? Is it predetermined, and is it active? If yes, continue with all. So where do you begin when it comes to identifying discovery activities? So really look back at what you've learned in the home visit and interviewing others, and look at, what does the job seeker do? How do they spend their time? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Their chores around the house? Completing their chores might be a discovery activity. For one individual that we're working with through the project, he loves to do laundry. And I mean, he does his entire family's laundry. And he will do his siblings' laundry, his parents' laundry, his laundry, and based on, you know, different types of loads, he knows which one wash cycle it goes on. And that's something he really enjoys doing. So that was a discovery activity. It could be a school activity. It could be a schoolwork-based activity, particularly for those who are transition age, but be aware, is it predetermined? And also when you're working with folks that are young, sometimes you've also got to start just by seeing, what are you currently doing that you're enjoying? And then community involvement. Do they participate in church? Do they participate in any clubs? What is their role? Maybe if they regularly attend church, do they help set up with breakfast? Or maybe could they sign up to help with breakfast? And that's a discovery activity in a familiar place. What are things that they do with their family? Maybe, you know, they help their parents garden on the weekends, or pick up the lawn, mow the lawn. All of those things could be discovery activities. And then ultimately, we're looking at, where are they at their best? What environment, what highlights them in a comfortable place where they're really enjoying and taking part in something. So we start looking for, what does the job seeker do, right? And where are they currently involved that we could go and observe and see them doing something, see them participating in something. So how do we plan for that, right? So you want to think ahead and really include everybody in the process. So that means including the job candidate's team, the VR counselor, their parents, family, friends. Oftentimes, everyone that you're inviting to that home visit, you also want to include them in the planning of those discovery activities. Again, more brains are always better than one in this process. And then as employment professionals, we all have to have some level of project management skills, right? And time management. So really look at, when you're starting discovery with someone, what is my timeline? Ideally, in a perfect world, which I know none of us live within, but with a small caseload, I think you reasonably could get this wrapped up in about 4 weeks. So if you did the home visit, you had your initial meeting with the counselor, and then you schedule the home visit as quickly as you can after that. Maybe it's the following week. Interviewing others can happen within a week of that home visit. If you need to ask for a warm connection, or like the parent to, or the individual to reach out to that person and give them an idea that you'll be reaching out, that could take a day or two. But the interviewing others piece is going to take 1 to 2 hours. The home visit, you always want to plan for at least 2 hours. It's going to take anywhere from an hour to 2, but plan for 2, right? And then you've got, 1 to 2 hours for interviewing others, and that leaves you with 6 to 8 hours for discovery activities. So you might be able to do even more than more than 2 discovery activities, if time allots. But start jotting out, okay, look at the full month and say, where can this all fit in, right? So you're planning the whole process, as opposed to, let's plan the home visit. Okay, now I plan for interviewing others. Now I plan for discovery activities. Just block out that time in your calendar so that you've got that already in there to keep the process moving. And then always have a contingency plan, right? Because rescheduling happens, but particularly that last meeting where you're pulling the team back together. Let me go back to the slide. For the discovery team meeting dialogue, set that meeting date once you've started at the very beginning of discovery services. So that first initial meeting with the team, schedule the home visit, and then schedule that discovery team meeting dialogue for a month and a half out. So then everybody's got it on their calendar. That way the counselor can hopefully attend as well, because you're identifying the next steps, right, or the next authorizations. So just, again, look at the whole month and see where you can block out some time to keep the process moving. So how do we plan? You want to complete at least a minimum of 2 task-based discovery activities with the job candidate. So in the form really prompts you to at least complete 2, and then to provide some evidence or some reasoning as to why that activity makes sense. Why do you want to do that activity? Because I want to see Joe working with his hands on a woodworking project, or I want to see Alice plant flowers with her mom. This is something she does every weekend and she thoroughly enjoys. Also, your first discovery activity can take place in the job candidate's home, or I would recommend a familiar place, right? So you're looking at what do they currently do and enjoy and find joy in doing, and let's go start there, because it's someplace that the individual is comfortable. It, again, absolutely can happen in their home. I think sometimes we've told ourselves it has to happen in a business. It doesn't. Discovery activities just need to be individualized for that person and be active. The whole intent of a discovery activity is for you to learn about the job seeker's skills and abilities. And if you're doing informational interviews or mall walking, you don't know what their skills and abilities are from that activity. So you've really got to spend some time thinking about, is this activity going to teach me more about this person's skills and abilities, the tasks that they complete? And then that second discovery activity might take place in a community location that's outside of the home, something that might be new or novel to the job candidate, but is still tied back to what you've learned in the home visit or interviewing others, or from that first discovery activity as well. And then again, I really encourage you to pull the counselor in to brainstorm those ideas or discovery activities. Because again, I can't say it enough, more brains are better than one. So when we're talking as a team and saying, well, what about this? Or what about this? Or maybe the VR counselor has a connection with a woodworker that they could connect with, that is a professional woodworker, and they could go meet one-on-one with this person and complete a project, right? So, and then sometimes an informational interview can lead you to a discovery activity. So for example, a young gentleman that we are working with in Utah is very into cosplay, which means he, like if you think of Comic-Con, he's really into Comic-Con and dressing up for Comic-Con. And he's constantly thinking about what his next cosplay, I don't want to say uniform, but his next outfit is going to be, his next character. And so the informational interview is set up with a costume store in Salt Lake City. And when we initially went in, we had a conversation with them and just said, we're not looking for a job. We are just here for advice. We're working with a guy who's super into cosplay, and we don't know a thing about cosplay. Can just tell us what you know. And they were like, oh, we'd love to tell you about cosplay. The gal that we talked to is into cosplay. She had just been working on her next costume, and then she introduced us to the owner, who had costumed various plays and musicals in the city. And then she connected us to some folks as well. But the discovery activity that came out from that is we showed her the picture of the job candidate, his next person, or the next character he wanted to create the outfit for. And we said, well, he wants to gender bend this costume. And so it's a female character and he's a male. So he puts a gender bend on it. And she's like, my daughter just gender bended Wolverine and it was the coolest costume. And so through this project that we're doing, we have some funds. And so his discovery activity is to go purchase all the things he needs to make this costume. And then he's going to work one-on-one with the woman who owns the store to create the costume. So then we're going to be learning about, this is an individual that previously he really enjoys working with his hands. And so, you know, he hasn't sewn anything before, but let's see if that's something that he's interested in doing, because he's super passionate about putting the costumes together, but he hasn't put them together on this next level of like pulling together the materials, finding the pattern, and putting them together. And so that is how, one example of how that informational interview can lead to a discovery activity. So what do you do, right? So what are some ideas? These are all things that have been used by either myself or my colleagues as familiar discovery activities. So weeding or mulching the family garden. This could be scanning a document at school, could be stocking items at a community-based learning site. Again, that would be pretty specific to transition age. And then completing a woodworking project, changing a furnace filter, downloading and saving your favorite music, making beaded jewelry, making oatmeal for breakfast. And based on the individual that you're supporting and their impact of disability, each of these are going to look very different, right? So, and it's going to be, you know, what are things that they do independently or with support at home? And then I can't encourage you enough, take pictures and pull those pictures into your VR documents, your discovery documents, because then that will also transfer into a visual resume if you go down that route. But that showing, that seeing is believing a lot of times, right? So here's Joe, like in the middle of this woodworking project, you know, beginning to end. So taking pictures is great. You obviously always want to ask for permission and abide by your own agency's HIPAA rules, privacy, you know, as far as, you know, can you use your camera? Does it need to be an agency camera? So check all of those things, but really take pictures and capture that information as well. So continuing on ideas, giving a family dog a bath, making check-in calls for the sick or shut-in ministry, posting a picture and comments on social media, working with a gal who is interested in going down a self-employment route, but her and her mom raise therapy dogs. She has her own therapy dog, and so she has created her own, her therapy dog has a social media page. And so part of her discovery activity was posting a picture and a comment every week about how her therapy dog supports her as more of like this awareness campaign that she's starting. But at the same time, that's also, you know, promoting her as a professional who knows a lot about therapy dogs. So could be setting the table, filling water glasses with water for dinner, could be removing home window screens, washing and replacing, could be vacuuming, changing the vacuum cleaner bag, paying bills, mowing the lawn, tinkering with a car. It's going to look different for every job candidate that you're working with. And again, going back to those three questions, is it active? Is it predetermined? And does it tie back to what I've learned about the person thus far? So you want to see that connection. So what do you do for unfamiliar activities? So again, here's just a short list of examples that we've used. It could be printing copies for the YMCA training event, could be preparing and staking garden plots for the city community garden program. I've also reached out to churches that I knew were like having a cleanup day. So participating in like a cleanup day would work, assisting a neighbor to change his car tire. And so again, so for example, so the person who's changing the car tire, maybe what I learned about him from the home visit was that he's really interested in cars. And this is evidenced by when we're driving on the road, he points to each car and then knows the make and model. He likes to tinker with his dad whenever his dad is working on the car. He likes to build car figurines in his spare time. So that you're tying, there's a connection, right? The garden plots might be someone who enjoys working with their hands or likes working outside, has enjoyed planting, or maybe has a green thumb and they take care of all these plants in their room. And that's evidenced by when you do the home visit and you go to their room, it's covered in plants, you know, and you ask for information and they're like, yes, you know, I've been planting this little plantling from day one. And here's my sage garden, or, it could be completing a jewelry making class at a Michael store. It could be, volunteering to put together packets for an upcoming race. We are in race season, right? There's going to be like a 10K, a 5K every weekend from now until August. So all sorts of places are looking for extra hands. Could be replacing fabric or wallpaper samples into the correct book for an interior designer. Could be working with a brick mason to lay a foundation row, washing a dog, placing him in the dryer cage at a dog groomer. So again, they'll look very different based on the job candidate that you're working with. But it doesn't have to take place at a business, right? It could be a local volunteer opportunity. It could be putting together meals for Meals on Wheels. It could be participating at the local senior center to set up their next activity. There are a wide variety of things that you can do. And then again, with unfamiliar activities, not something that's pre-established, right? You don't want to go down your list and say, here are the businesses we work with, which one should we choose? There's going to be some development in identifying those discovery activities. And that's also why you want to pull your team back in to say, who do you know that we might be able to connect with? And it might be somebody, so like going back to the guy who's really interested in cars, it could be that maybe a good family friend restores cars on the weekends. And so it could be reaching out to that friend and saying, hey, could Joe, come in and help you work on a task, and could we hang out? This would be really helpful for us to learn more about Joe and his skills. So it would be a huge benefit to helping us learn more about him. Would that be possible? Also, not where other people with disabilities work, right? So we're not looking at pre-established enclaves, facility-based, it's individualized. And then again, it's uniquely chosen for that specific job candidate that you're working with. And again, pull in the team. Don't feel like this just weighs on you. And if you want to brainstorm, I would love to brainstorm with you. If you just, obviously, you can't tell me specific protected health information on the client, but just shoot me an email. I'm working with a guy who's interested in these things. I am stumped when it comes to discovery activities. I'd love to brainstorm with you and come up with some things. So how do you know when you've done enough? How do you know if these 2 discovery activities have told me what I need to know? So you take some time and you reflect and say, do I know the tasks that the job seeker can complete? Do I know the skills the job seeker has demonstrated, supports the job seeker needs? What are the work culture and conditions that are preferred, and what are their personal attributes? So this, if you look at this, it's all the stuff that's being asked from you in that positive personal profile. And so if you're filling that out and you're really struggling to fill that information in, you might need to request the opportunity to either continue discovery, to complete some various discovery activities and share, here's what I've learned so far, or maybe the 2 discovery activities you do are a bust and you need to complete some more discovery activities. But you really want to look at, do I know the tasks, the skills, the specific skills this person has, and the supports and conditions that are needed. So again, yeah, you might need to request more authorizations or discovery activities if needed. So how do you share and pull all of that information together? Again, you're identifying and brainstorming with the counselor. So the counselor shouldn't be surprised of what discovery activities are identified. And then you want to detail out proposed discovery activities and why in that discovery form. So you're going to write it out, tinkering with the car. Why? Because as detailed above, Joe is super passionate about cars and working with his hands. And we want to learn more about his skills in this area. So capture the detail of those discovery activities and the pictures all in the positive personal profile. So I just highlighted the boxes that I think your discovery activities are going to fill in. Skills and knowledge, interests, temperament, environmental preferences, Learning styles, values, support systems, solutions, and accommodations all can be learned through discovery activities. And so again, really describe in detail that person's skills. What does it look like when they're performing this activity? How are they using their hands? How are they using their fingers? Are they grasping onto something very tightly? Does a family member come in and support them? What does that support look like? So you're providing a mental picture to whoever is reading that document and saying, yes, okay, I see that Joe can change his oil filter on his own, with, his dad coaching him through, or maybe he just does it all on his own. So, describe what that looks like, though. That's very different than saying, Joe changes the oil filter. Tell me about the process. All right, so now that we have done those discovery activities, where does that get us to vocational themes, right? So the grand finale of our webinar. So discovery activities drive our vocational themes. The information we learn in the home visit and interviewing others and discovery activities, what culminates from that is the vocational theme. So we take that information, put it into the blender, and hopefully we get a vocational theme. And ideally, you're going to see more than one theme. Traditionally, we like to think of 3 themes, because if you just pick one and you're wrong, then you're stumped. If you pick 2 and you're wrong on 1, you only have 1. So if you have 3, you kind of have 3 good areas to play with. But for some folks, they're going to have one really, really strong vocational theme and the skills and abilities to support that, and you're going to be able to drive straight into job development. It's going to look different for each and every person you work with. So vocational themes, what are they? 1, they're overarching. So they're big and they hold lots and lots and lots of different types of jobs and businesses. They are not job descriptions, and so because they are not job descriptions, they are not comparative. Job descriptions are comparative. We look at, here are all the things that are required of this person, and we say, gee, Joe can do all but 3 things on here, but since he can't do those 3 things, he's not going to be a good fit for the job. And we're comparing him, and that's frustrating as developers, right? Because then it's like, oh, now what do I do now? So the process, we're really trying to encourage you to take off the pressure of what job does he fit into and follow the process of who is this person, what are their interests, skills, abilities, conditions, and then what is their vocational theme, and allow that to drive your job development process. And then themes are also thoughtful, and they're supported by evidence that's learned through the discovery process. So again, each piece supports the next, so that it's evidenced by who this person is. Why do we use vocational themes? Well, because they require the job candidate and the team to look beyond the limits of job descriptions, right? Because naturally, everything teaches us is a job developer, as anybody who's looking for a job, let's go look at, who's hiring, let's fill out applications and go about that way. But that's the longest way to get a job, particularly if you struggle to compete with a job description. So it really pushes you to say, let's wait on the job descriptions, let's get to know who this person is, and let's look beyond the idea of a job description. Let's look beyond the idea of a specific position, and let's just be thinking about, what does this person do? What do they contribute? What do they need? And then let's be thinking about, well, where are the businesses, not the job descriptions or the job openings, but where are the businesses that this might make sense in? Who has similar interests that are job seeker? And then we start connecting there. But all of that fits into the theme. Additionally, themes really foster our creativity, and they're not easy to come up with. So we've got to spend some time thinking and brainstorming as a team to really identify an individual's theme. And for some folks, it's going to scream at you, and you'll say, oh, this is this person's theme. And for other folks, it's going to take you a little bit more time. And that's where you might need some additional authorizations to keep digging and developing that information. So investigating themes takes job developers and team members far beyond the confines of our typical job searches, right? So we're really pushing it beyond what are those open jobs or those retail jobs, and really looking at where are the businesses that this might make sense, and then let's just go have conversations with them. And again, that's kind of a different webinar, but looking at the theme really gets us there. The theme is the roadmap to what businesses are we going to go reach out to that have a connection to the same interests, abilities, skills as our job seeker. So think about a bridge. So the bridge, it really connects your discovery activities and your vocational themes into job development. So you're taking that information and connecting it. The theme is that bridge that drives you to the job development phase. So for example, if you have a discovery authorization, but you move into, say, job shadowing or maybe some career exploration on the VR side, you might use that information. You might not have a theme until you've completed all of those authorizations. So because you might need more information before you can confirm that that's a theme for that person. So I think of a theme as an umbrella, right? Because it holds all of these different jobs as opposed to listing out job descriptions. So ideally, we're identifying more than one vocational theme for reasons I already shared. Themes are also intended to be imprecise and overarching. It should be easy for you to come up with 20 different local small businesses under each theme. That doesn't mean you're going to do it in 5 minutes in one day. It might take you a couple of days to be thinking about the various jobs that fit under one theme. But themes hold many, many businesses. So the more specific you are with a theme, the more difficult it becomes for you to list out all of those businesses under a theme. And then again, themes are supported by consistent information that presents itself during the whole discovery process. And then again, identify 20 local small businesses under each identified theme. And this isn't something that's required by VR. This is just a recommended practice that you use as and put in your tool belt, right? So if you, and we'll get there in just a second, if you think of, say, animals as a theme, because dogs would be too specific. But if you think of animals as a theme and you just think of what are 20 businesses in my town, area, county, city that touch animals. It doesn't mean that you're working one-on-one with the animals, but it could be anywhere from the vet to the dog bakery to the person, the dog food factory. It could be people who make dog leashes. It could be a dog walker, dog walking company. A dog walker is a job description. So that's kind of a brief example. So, all right, everybody get your fingers ready, because now is the time that I'm going to tap into your knowledge and we'll make sure you're awake. So a little game, if you can all find your chat boxes. I want you to name job descriptions. So if we think about a person who likes a dog or likes dogs, I want you to type in the chat box a job description that would match that. So for example, a person who likes dogs might be a dog walker. They might be a vet tech. So I've given you 2 examples. Now it's all on you.
Okay. Got dog groomer, shelter worker, dog groomer, dog sitter.
Can I see these?
Oh, shoot, I wish you could. Okay, I thought you could. Do you have a questions pod? Can you see that?
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, it's still not coming up, but that's okay. Jess will read them off. Everybody needs support.
You've got a couple. You've got a couple of dog groomers, dog sitter, dog grooming assistant, vet tech, and shelter worker.
Okay, great. So we have 5. How about a person who enjoys music? What job descriptions might we associate with a person who is music?
Oh, thank you, Pam. Last one, dog trainer. Okay,
Oh,
music. We've got coming in for the music. Great. Okay, DJ, music salesman, instrument repair, music store clerk, drummer, assistant band director, conductors, or like a teacher assistant.
mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so we've got 8.
Okay.
How about, is there more?
Oh, I think we're a concert setup. I think we do have cars next. Okay, yep. That's it for the music.
All right, so how about a person who's interested in cars? What job descriptions might we associate with them?
We've got a car detailer or a car part runner, auto technician, mechanic, detailer, auto tech, or just like general auto body,
Mm-hmm.
car salesman. Yep, sales.
Cool. All right, so like anywhere from 5 to 10 that we've just come up with as a group. All right, so now I want you to think about, if we think in themes, if someone has a theme of animals, I just want you to toss out a business, even better if it's a business in your community. So say it's Joe's Animal Care Facility. That would be awesome. But list out the businesses that have anything to do with animals.
All right. Humane Society, equine horse therapy,
Awesome.
local vet, Big River Canine Coach,
Love it.
zoo, Petco, groomers, shelters, farm supply store. Oh, that's a good one. Veterinarians. Again, farm supply store, King's Harvest for animals.
Love it.
Rescues, right? Pet adoption.
Sweet. So we have 15 already. See how much easier it is to think in a theme as opposed to, so if any of you who are working with animals, you should be writing all of these down because you're going to have your list of 20 quickly. All right, so let's go to the next one. Someone who has a theme of entertainment or music. You guys are fabulous. Brilliant islands.
There we go. We've got Tyson Event Center, composer, movie theater, KSOU radio,
Awesome.
any other local radio station.
Love it.
Ray's Mid-Bell, River Music Experience, Creative Music, venue organizer, talent manager, music section and stores, a radio DJ, a church organist, park association.
You don't even have to say the organist because that would be a job description. But church.
Oh, gotcha. Just church, yes, okay. Local universities or a music channel, stage hand, so maybe again like setup, entertainment, yeah. TBN. That sounds like something local.
Yeah, awesome. So you guys get the idea, right? Like it's so much easier to think in terms of businesses that just touch the idea, the theme, as opposed to when we were talking about job descriptions. Even my mind was like, well, you know, I've worked with a lot of people who love music, but not everybody wants to go and like be the full-out composer, right? I loved music. I still love music. I was a huge band geek. But I don't want to be a composer or a band teacher, right? Like I don't fit that job description. However, if we just think of what businesses touch this theme, and then let's go do some informational interviews, you have an entire plan for job development as opposed to looking at what businesses are hiring. And then if your job seeker has the same interest and some skills to back that up, and you connect the business and the business owner with the job seeker, things can happen, right? And you learn that there's opportunity for maybe some customization, for some job carving, or maybe they get a mentor out of it, right? So either way, it's a win-win. So we got to keep plugging away. So how do we determine a vocational theme? So this is an example of Marcus, and this is the information that was collected on Marcus when he was in discovery. And obviously this is not the extent, this is a summary. So he collects and stacks wood for bonfires at his parents' house. He helps his dad set up a tent for family camping trips. He really likes quiet environments, no loud noises. That's not him at his best. He's very good at giving directions and can even like pull back past directions from vacations, like by memories. Like, you know, did you take highway so-and-so to get here? Or these are the highways we took to get to this family vacation. So one of his discovery activities was unloading a shipment at a local sporting goods store. He's very strong, he's physically fit, he's polite. He likes to work best with tasks that he can complete alone. So working, you know, with various people, that's not him at his best, something that he can focus on from beginning to end. And then he learns best by being shown a task, no verbal instructions. So, you know, just show him how to do it and then support him to learn it. And then it really does best when he's working with a few people and like one boss, right? So one person that's giving him specific direction. Another discovery activity he did was he repaired a hiking trail. So that means he like removed the fallen tree limbs, helped remove the trees, set fill rock in the dirt. And then he had one partner in this discovery activity that he was working with that supports the idea that just working with a few people and one boss. And then his third discovery activity is he guided 2 people on this new hiking trail, which ties back to his ability to remember pathways, vacations, highways. You know, he's very navigational. I don't know if that's even a word, but he navigates, right? And then fishes with minimal support. He helps with putting, you know, together the rod and the reel. So this is some general information about Marcus. So with his team, here are a list of things that started coming up, right? And so because this is how the meeting happens, right? Like you start sharing all this great information, you having a conversation with the team, and then the team's like, oh, he could be a park ranger, he could be a trail guide, he could be, he could go apply at Dick's Sporting Goods or Shields, right? So that doesn't necessarily fit within the theme, right? So, or that's not the theme. The theme might be big enough, like outdoor recreation would be big enough. Parks and Rec is even a little specific, right? Because you only have one park and rec department that you go and you connect with. That might be a business that you list under outdoor and recreation. Yeah, maybe sporting and outdoors. So I could see a connection there for a theme. But otherwise, you know, these businesses could fill under the theme, but just be prepared for that, right? So, and sometimes you might even want to list out, okay, we're just going to toss this theme up here and let's think as a team, what businesses might fall under this theme, and not stay away from job descriptions, right? Park ranger, trail guide, they're just too specific. So here are a list of some common vocational themes. This doesn't mean that this is a full list of vocational themes. There are hundreds of vocational themes that are not on here or not even mentioned, right? So, but here are a lot that oftentimes come up: organization, agriculture, construction, mechanical, transportation, cleanliness, entertainment, customer service, hospitality, military, healthcare, medicine, fashion, children, advocacy, outdoors or nature, culinary, art, religion, science, curiosity and problem solving, and logistics. So again, this is just a small smattering of examples just to get your mind flowing. But themes are overarching and they really spur our creativity, I think, as employment professionals as well. So it just gives you permission, I feel like, to ditch the job descriptions that even limit our own creativity and say, let's just look at an overarching theme for Joe. And then let's list out 20 businesses that fit under that. And then let's use that to start guiding our job development practices. So again, this doesn't have to be for everybody. It's just one more tool to put in your pocket to use as an employment professional. So as we wrap up our time together, I would really love for you to put in the chat box one answer to one of these questions. If you want to answer all three, fabulous. If you just want to pick one and take it, that's fine. But what are you going to take with you today, right? So every time we sit through a conference, a webinar, what's just one small thing that you're going to take with you, that you're going to remember and say, I think I'm going to apply this to somebody I'm working with in tomorrow, or, you know, I'm going to spend some extra time doing those discovery activities. I'm going to reach out to the VR counselor. I'm going to use that idea of a theme with somebody that I'm working with. And then how will thinking in themes impact your work? How might that change what you're doing? And then what more do you need? You know, would you like more information on the topics that we talked about today? Is it maybe in a completely different area of support? Do you need support implementing these different types of concepts and changes? So yeah, if you could pick one and put it in the chat box, we would be forever grateful.
I think I'll share a couple of these back, Ashley, if that's okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Getting some great feedback here. Jeremy, thank you. The utility of using broad descriptors to extend thinking of potential avenues.
Awesome.
Lynn is going to think big and think broad. Kiana is going to look for information on themes. She really liked that. She would like more information on themes.
Oh yeah, so I can send out some documents for that.
Great, I can attach that stuff and send it out with the materials, no problem. Let's see, Lonnie, thank you. Themes expand ideas on what types of jobs a client might be interested in, instead of just exploring job descriptions.
Great.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you. I tend to think in job descriptions instead of themes, so this really opened my eyes.
Awesome.
Something new, right? Yeah, good stuff.
Cool. Well, great.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. So anything else, Ashley, before we wrap up?
No, that is it from me. Again, if you ever want to brainstorm around themes or discovery activities, please shoot me an email. I would be flattered to help brainstorm. And I know that brainstorming helps me as a professional. Oftentimes I have my own little cadre of people I'll reach out to and say, like, I just need some, I need some other brains on this. So whoever is in your circle, use them. And thank you for the opportunity to present. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ashley, for a great presentation and lots of things to learn and unlearn and relearn. Very good. As Ashley said, it sounds like she'll share some more resources with us. And again, I'll be sure to send that out to the mailing list. Just a reminder that all the materials associated with the community of practice are on the IVR website. So you can go to the VR website and link directly to the videos, but then you can also access the PowerPoint presentations and any associated materials or tools. Again, I'll be sure to disseminate everything here, hopefully before the week's over, and get that out. Please complete the survey. Short survey, very short, yes or no questions, 2 of them. Once the webinar ends, we always appreciate your feedback. And then hopefully you can join us again in May. We'll be back on May 8th from 1 to 2 p.m., where we're going to be talking about utilizing individual placement and supports, or the IPS model, to assist job seekers with mental illness. And we'll be hosting Scott Whitty in Hope Haven. Scott and probably some partners or colleagues from Minnesota and here in Iowa, they're going to be talking about how they utilize IPS in Minnesota and how they partner to really have a lot of great successes using the model. And then Scott will also share with us about some of the projects and partnerships happening here in Iowa to bring IPS to Iowa. So I think it'll be another great webinar with lots of great information. So we hope to have you back then. Everybody have a good rest of the week and enjoy the warm-up that we'll have.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Ash. Thanks a lot.